would we do without the gay boy? What would we do? What would we do?
Guys, welcome back.
Yes.
We're here. Thank you for tuning in. We know we've had some sound issues, guys. We're fixing it. But thank you guys for tuning in every Monday.
Appreciate it.
We'll be here. We love you.
And today,
Yes.
we have a new topic.
Some people aren't gonna like this.
Yeah, but sorry about it.
Not aren't gonna like it. It's just it's a sensitive topic. We live in a world right now where we're talking about race, and so like it's a thing that's happening in our community.
And even though we're in the 21st century, I think people still get edgy. This country's messed up when it comes to race. So we're going to talk today
Right.
about how in dating there is racial preferences for guys. Guys putting it out there publicly, saying that they'll only date a certain race.
One of the things that sparked the conversation between Brandon and I was this article written by this guy, Donovan Trott. And the title was An Open Letter to Gay White Men. No, you're not allowed to have racial preferences. Thank you, Miss Trott. I'm obviously completely biased because we're both completely biased because we're people of color, we're gay men of color. And I think, I will say personally, I've run into this online, and it happens a lot on the apps. Into white only, or Asian only, or black men no, or, you know, give me that BDC, that big black dick, BBC. I can't even say it because it gives me ashna. But one of the things Donovan said in his article was, I've had these conversations about race with other white people,
Right.
other white gays, and here have been their rebuttals.
Right.
And here are my rebuttals to their rebuttals. And when you look at the comments, all of the white gay men responded exactly how he said they were going to respond. So our question is, are you allowed to have racial preferences? I think you're allowed to have any preferences you want to. Just know that they're racist as fuck. Because it's based on a racial hierarchy.
Right.
So you have to ask yourself why you only like black men or you don't like Asian men. Like, what is it about them? It's a physical trait. It's based in race. It's racist.
And Delon and I were talking about where does that come from? And I was thinking how a lot of our information that we get has been through media. It doesn't matter any format, television, film, print. For decades it has been beautifying the American white
The European
human beings. Yeah. Male or female.
Right.
So when you're growing up and seeing beauty, ideals of beauty in front of you, and they're not Asian men, Hispanic men, black men, you're gonna think, oh, well, that's gorgeous.
Right.
Rock Hudson is everything. You know, Armie Hammer is everything. And it's just like, we're not talking about all the other people
Right.
that are part of this country. So I think that that's where it's coming from. Sure, you're not racist, but you've been in some way informed, conditioned
Yeah.
to idealize white beauty.
Right. We all fall victim to it. I have my own kind of preferences in certain things, you know. I prefer that you have a bank account and a job.
A bank account with money in it.
Thank you. Yeah, don't come with no negative balance, bitch. I sit and think about my own balance.
Right.
How are we doing? But it's not about you individually being a bad person. It's that you're a product of this system, a system of racial oppression, and that has kind of trickled down because, like you said, it's in our media, it's in everything that we consume.
And what he says in the article is interesting. He says that you can actually retrain your brain to switch that ideal and that ideology even of what is actually attractive to you. So it's not like, well, it's resting on your laurels and being like, well, this is what I like.
Right.
It's like, well, baby, open your eyes.
Right.
And see that there's beauty in all. So I live in Boston currently, and it's very segregated in a way. So when you go to a club, it's very white only. It's like so white.
Yeah.
And like you'll see friends of mine like posting on Instagram, and I'm like, oh, what a nice white group of people. Like there's like nobody of color, and maybe there's one.
Yeah.
Maybe there's one.
Oh yeah.
And so when you go out publicly,
And it's me.
Yeah, it's exactly. Well, it's not me, and I'm like, it's interesting that I'm not invited, but whatever.
That's another story.
Right. But you know, it's interesting. So when you go out, it's even there. Like, so I think as a person of color, you're like, can I even infiltrate that group? Whether it is that I want to like dance with them or hit on them or whatever, and vice versa.
To your point about when you see pictures of people and there being like a chocolate drop or, you know, so a little bit of melanin in there somewhere. When I'm on the dating apps, if you're a white guy with like no people of color, if you don't have anybody Latino in there, nobody black in there, an Asian in there or something, a mixed person, somebody, I don't even talk to you. I don't even talk to you. And that's prejudice on my own part, but because I don't want to, I don't want to be tokenized, I don't want to be fetishized, and that's also a fear when you're a person of color with white people, is that like, does this guy like me just because I'm black? Even if that's not the case, that is what I walk into the room with. That's what I walk into the interaction, the relationship with. And so that's my cross to bear. Like, I'm not getting rid of that, but I think it's important to explain that and talk about that in this conversation. You
Absolutely. Know? I've only ever dated white guys.
And that was the question I had.
And so, but I mean, there's my own shit too, right?
Yeah.
So like, I have to look back, like, what's that about? I grew up in a pretty big city in Texas, and I went to private school. And while Texas has a large Hispanic population, in private school there's less. But crushes, starting from an early age, were on these white guys that were around me. And so my surroundings also influence that. So likewise, I mean, if you're white and you're growing up in a very white neighborhood or what have you, then I guess you're not seeing growing up and thinking, oh my gosh, that guy on the football team or that guy in choir is so hot because he's a person of color, because maybe they're not there. So
no, and I have a very, very similar experience. I grew up in northern Minnesota, which is very, very white. There were a handful of black people. Because it's a predominantly white state, a lot of my friends were white. And also, because I was a little gay, I got made fun of by the black kids. So I always was, oddly, this is so crazy, but I was like fearful of my own people just because the boys made me feel less than. Again, are you allowed to have preferences? Absolutely. Just know where they come from.
And all I have to say is, I'm beautiful.
In every single way.
And so...
Words can bring me down. Oh, bitch! Nasty.
So, I think it'll be interesting to see if any of you want to comment about this.
I know you do.
And, give it to us. I mean... And that's part of what we love about this show, is that we are two people of color, two gay guys of color, and able to speak our minds, our truths. And so we're putting it out there. We're trying to be that voice for others and with others. So here we are.
And I also do want to shout out Donovan Trott again. Please, we'll put the article in the description box. Please read the article. I think it is a worthwhile conversation that I think we all should be having.
Absolutely.
And thank you for sitting in with us as we unpack it. Until next time, guys, we love you so much.
Love you.
We will be here next Monday, as we are every Monday. Remember to subscribe.
Please.
And drop us an email, agendabegay@gmail.com. Until then, this has been Whose Agenda?
Your agenda?
My agenda?
Our gay agenda.
I don't know, I can't really look that.
I did that one.
Okay, one more time.
Which one did you do?
I did.
Okay.
It's fine, that's fine.
What would we do without the gay boy? What would we do? What would we do?